And no, that is not how it is portrayed in D&D. But we also didn't have magic and people couldn't turn into bears. So,
Well,
First off, yes, they could. They could turn into bears. We lost that power when we severed ourselves from the world roots.
it's
But we never used 2 daggers in combat. And we sure as shit didn't use rapiers. I'm getting out of hand.
when we severed from the world runes in the 70s when we took the lead out of the gasoline.
Exactly.
welcome to Monsters of Multiclass, your Dungeons and Dragons fix. I'm Ellie.
I'm Jared Bornagle.
And I'm Will Melden.
And on this episode, we are taking a look at the new Cleric UA for One D&D. It's Cleric, a couple new species, and then some additional revised rules. We'll just kind of cover all of it, give our thoughts primarily mechanically, and yeah. I'm always so bad at segueing out of these intros. It's been like 4 or 5 years. You think I learned?
If you just did like a natural pause, I would just take it.
Yeah, I can't. I gotta.
But it's been 4 years, so I don't know if you have a natural pause. I think it's just as a heads up.
I'm too awkward to not fill the silence.
As a heads up, we are going to be covering the Moon Sorcerer on next week's episode, as well as doing a giveaway for the Dragonlance Shadow of the Dragon Queen book. So if you are excited about that, which we're at least excited for the Moon Sorcerer because I like new subclasses, then yeah, make sure to check that out. And yeah, let's get into the actual UA here. So starting off, let's look at the Cleric. This is a change or changes to the base class as well as a single subclass, and that is going to be the Life Cleric.
So just like with the Expertise one, they've done class groups. Clerics are now in the Priest group. They know divine spells. Nothing too crazy. It's just kind of like a reclassification of it all.
Yeah. Interesting that we as well, with the experts, we got all 3 of the classes. This one we just got Cleric.
Yeah, I thought that was odd too, but yeah, it's a UA. I think they're kind of less formal. Like as things get done, they put it out. Also, just like the other spellcasters, how these prepare spells is different, where they prepare spells equal to their spell slots. We talked about that a lot last time. It's no different here. So, links at the top. Cantrips can be prepared. It's not set in stone as well. So again, another similar change.
Yeah, but otherwise, just to the level progression, we see a lot of big changes. And truly, I think that's where, I guess, in my opinion, most of the interesting stuff starts with we see these subclasses, even at first level, shifting away from first level to now third level for subclasses. Huge for multi-classing, which is a thing that we talk about pretty often, but even just big for the general progression of a cleric. But it seems like just like there was kind of a power smoothing out that we're seeing, where like a lot of the things that were front loaded before are being put a little bit further, moved around in different ways.
Oh yeah, with subclasses being at third, for cleric, from like a roleplay character building perspective, it feels a little odd. Because like a cleric usually devotes themselves to a god, and up until becoming like an official cleric of class levels, they're still been devoted to that god for a long period of time of their life. Because everyone who just is devoted to a god is not a cleric. Every priest is not a cleric. So then having these first 2 levels, they're just like generic clerics, the same as everyone else, and has no flavor from their god who's giving them all the powers. Just feels really odd.
So they do actually tweak the relationship that a cleric may have to their subclass, and I think that it makes it okay. So this is actually a flavor change where it basically is saying more that for a subclass, you can interpret that regardless of the god you're associated with. I feel like in 5th edition, it was very focused on like, if you are a life cleric, these are some of the gods that you would be associated with. And now it's like, hey, life cleric is the association of positive energy. And that relates to basically every god in some way. And I like that. I mean, I basically use that in my home world. That is the setup, is that it doesn't matter what your subclass is or which god you relate to. It's kind of like your interpretation of that god and your connection with them. So I think because of that, it makes it okay where you would be connected to a specific god. And then at 3rd level, it becomes a little more specific.
Sure. Okay. I guess I missed that flavor change.
I think it's going to be more important for the warlock, which is it's more of a paradigm shift for a person, I think, than the cleric, which would be, a lifetime of worshiping a god. 3rd level, you get powers. Whereas a warlock, I was a normal dude, and then I met the devil, and now, yeah. So
Yeah, we'll see if
I'm
it
curious
changes.
what they do.
Yeah, I feel like realistically they have to keep warlock at 1st level, or it's a matter of the pact being separate from the subclass. But that also feels really weird. But that would be the equivalent of what cleric has done. Is
If they
making your
ruin the
bond
warlock,
is first.
I'm just done.
No one's removing warlock. I think it's already in here, right?
No,
Yeah, it's already
ruin it.
listed under mages.
If they ruin the warlock,
Oh,
I guarantee you will. They'll ruin it in some way.
If it's not twice as powerful, I'm gone. I'm done. I quit the podcast.
Hexblade should actually just be like the default. Everyone should get
Yes.
Hexblade. All right, so looking at all of the base stat or base like 1st level stuff, there's really no changes, maybe a little bit of changes to which skills you can get, but overall it's the same. The 1st level is where things change, and that is you get your channel divinity right out the gate. And instead of just having turn undead, you now get a divine spark and turn undead. So you can use the channel divinity a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. So that is different well. A lot more uses of this channel divinity.
Though it was per short rest for clerics.
Right, that's true.
So that is up until later on it's less because they started with never mind. They just started 1 per short rest. Now
and then at 6th level it goes to 2.
Yeah. Now they have 2 per long rest, and I think at 5th or whenever that goes up, it's 3 per long rest. So it's, I guess it kind of works out.
But there is a small change that we'll get to soon.
Oh, gosh. I don't know which one he's talking about. But if I don't bring it up, you do. All right. So Divine Spark, though, is the first of these options. And this is, again, base cleric class, so everyone gets these. And basically, as an action, you can roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus and add those together. And you either restore hit points to a creature within 30 feet, or you make them make a constitution saving throw, and if they fail, they take radiant damage equal to the total. So you can either be a damage dealing cleric or a healing cleric. I mean, really, you can do it when you choose which one you want to do. And this is really a pretty big change in the sense that everyone's going to get a channel divinity that's worthwhile all the time. So this is very good.
Yeah. I appreciate that because a lot of the other channel divinities were not great, and just having this base one in here, which is sound, there's always going to be a use for that, and that's pretty good healing too.
Yeah,
like at 1st level, being
really
able to do 2d8 of healing. Oh, yeah, proficiency bonus. Yeah, 2d8 of healing, 3d8 at 5th level.
Yeah, it does still end up making the 1 level dip into cleric really strong.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're 17th level and you go 1 level into cleric, you're now getting this, up to your proficiency bonus, and then it's your 68, and then you have that many channel divinities as well. You have 68 healings just from a level 1 dip.
Yep, pretty good.
Huh. Well, next thing is Turn Undead, and this is changed up from how Turn Undead was in 5th edition. Each undead within 30 feet of you must make a wisdom saving throw. If they fail, they become dazed for 1 minute, or until they take any damage, or you are incapacitated or die. While dazed in this way, the only action the creature can take is the dash action, and if it moves, it must end that move farther from where it started.
Farther from you.
Farther from you from where it started. Sorry, left out a word.
Is that really a change? It's just they kind of use some new statuses that weren't in there previously, but essentially it's the same. You do turn undead. Any undead with you have to make a save. If not, they basically can't attack and run away from you.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, the only thing that's added is dazed, and that's, I guess, when the only action they can take is to dash, then it doesn't really matter if what you call it.
Right. And the old one, it didn't have any saves or anything, if I recall. The 5th edition current.
Oh no, that has a wisdom saving throw.
No, I mean, sorry, I mean save every turn.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's just once it fails, it is for a
Yeah.
whole minute.
So turn on that's just about the same.
Yep. All right. Then Will, what was the channel divinity change that you were talking about, or is it later on?
That's second level holy order.
Okay.
That has nothing to do with challenge divinity, but okay.
Yeah. What's,
That's where you're wrong. Because
okay. Well, I guess
Okay.
you're right, because one of these does have to do with channel divinity. So to cut through the suspense here, for second level, we have holy order. So you've dedicated yourself to one of the following sacred roles. We have protector, scholar, or thaumaturge. Thaumaturge is the one that Will is, I'm guessing, alluding to, which is delving
Yeah.
deeper into your divine magical abilities. You can prepare an extra 0 level spell, cantrip, from the divine spell list. And then in addition, you can regain 1 expended use of your channel divinity whenever you
Oh,
finish
right.
a short rest.
Right. Okay, I forgot about that. So they'd still add that,
But that is a
which is
whole
nice.
dedication, and you don't get another one of these until what
Ninth.
level? Ninth level. So it's not like this is just, every level handing it out. And you're making some pretty big concessions to get this as well, as
Mm.
the other one is protector, which gives you martial weapon proficiency as well as heavy armor training. And then we have Scholar, which is you gain proficiency in 2 of the following skills: Arcana, History, Nature, Persuasion, and Religion. And whenever you make an ability check using either of those skills, you gain a bonus to the check equal to your Wisdom modifier.
So yeah, this is a design change I never knew I wanted, and now that it's here, I love
Yeah.
because it makes so much sense. Because what this is doing is in current fifth edition, every subclass, cleric subclass, basically sets up at the beginning of either like your heavy armor wearer and your martial, because you get heavy armor proficiencies, probably some weapon proficiencies, and then I think it's at eighth level you would get a bonus to your melee attacks, or you're a caster, you don't get any of those proficiencies, and at eighth level you get a bonus to your cantrip damage. And it's like, okay, that's how it is. Sure, yeah, life clerics heavy armor, forge clerics heavy armor, knowledge clerics are not. I think I don't know. It's not important, but now that I see, it's like, oh yeah, why was that tied to your subclass? Why do every life cleric have to be like heavy armor melee users who get a bonus to their melee attacks? Like, why can't you play like a light cleric doesn't wear heavy armor and is focuses more on spell casting? And so I love how it removes that choice from the subclass, puts it in the base class at second level, and lets you pick. So you could just be the cleric you want to be.
And we're actually seeing, we mentioned this before, Tasha's did a lot of things that like preluded what would happen
Yeah.
in this UA. And they hinted at that with the optional class features that gave you Blessed Strikes and cantrip bonus damage just for everybody. And then this, I think, is just a vastly better approach to it.
Right.
Because
And
you're
then
right, that heavy armor still was boxing you into, you're a life cleric, you have to be plated up. It
right.
didn't make sense.
Ellie, I
And
think you
then
got
it
a title or a thumbnail for the video though. Be the cleric you want to be.
sure.
Inspirational posters.
Right. The picture of the cat hanging on the wire, but it has like cleric garb on.
And a mall, of course.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. And it's not to jump at too much, but it's seventh they keep that blessed strike in there. So instead of putting that on the subclass of either boost to cantrips or melee damage, it's both.
Yeah, this holy order, I really like it. I think that scholar feels a little bit less interesting. Not even interesting.
Yes.
It's interesting enough. It's just not strong enough. And I would
Yep.
like to see the ability to cast a knowledge spell, if you know what I mean. Like any of those that are kind of, gain a piece of lore, those types of spells that you're generally not preparing, probably don't even use them too often, but being able to cast something like that once a day for free, I think would bring this just up a teensy bit in power level and make it feel more fitting to getting a channel divinity back on a short rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I 100% agree. I agree. At second level, when you pick this, it's between Protector and Thaumaturge. Scholar is the ninth level pick if you're not interested in the other one.
Yeah. Great. So then we get to third level, which is when you get your cleric subclass. We'll go over the life cleric subclass altogether. Fourth level is a feat. Fifth level, we have Smite Undead, which changes up turn undead, very similar to right now the cleric's destroy undead ability. And this just as you can roll a number of d8s equal to your proficiency bonus and add the rolls together. Each undead that fails its saving throw against that use of turn undead takes radiant damage equal to the roll's total. So I like this because right now destroy undead is very binary. Either they are under the challenge rating that you want them to be and they're just destroyed, or they are too high and then nothing happens at all. And it's
Mm-hmm.
so binary that it makes you not even want to put undead in the game if there's a cleric, because it really doesn't feel great to set up an encounter like that. Like, it feels great maybe one time for the cleric to have their moment, right, where they do their turn undead and they wipe out 50 zombies and everyone's like, wow, that was great. But you can't really design an entire zombie dungeon because they're just going to keep doing that and burning through it. This allows you to have undead as an enemy, but it isn't going to just completely wipe it out. But it also gives the cleric that good feeling of they're really contributing and this is their specialty.
Right. Yeah, I 100% agree. Yeah, how it's currently handled, the proficiency or challenge rating thing is clunky, weird. Yeah,
Yeah,
when
I
if you're fighting
realized
like
in
that
our
strong undead, it's
I realized in our home game, the recent one, I had zombies as actual enemies, and it's like, why haven't I done zombies in such a long time? It's like, oh right, we had a life cleric
right.
last time, and it wouldn't have been fun. Everyone would be like, oh
Right.
okay, the life cleric took care of it.
Yep.
It's got the issue of it's like you're ending up on the wrong side of the DM screen because like as a player, challenge rating should not exist in your head, but it
That's true.
does.
No, that's actually a really good point. It's yeah, of course it does. It's just not a thing that players should have to think about. It's not like they can ask that information
Mm-hmm.
as well. So there's no real choice in the matter. They're just going to use it and hope that the challenge rating is correct.
And you no, you're absolutely spot on about like the nature of the spell. It's either like the binary, it's over or it doesn't work. And the other thing is, as you get higher and higher in levels, your DM is going to be less and less inclined to be like, all right, I need some challenge rating 4s to spice up this 17th level encounter. It's like, no, I cannot track enough challenge rating 4s to change this encounter.
The only
Right.
time where it was useful was when it felt like a kind of like an expected cost. You know, like I'm going to throw 5 CR5 zombies at you that I know are beneath your destroy undead level, just so that you use your channel divinity and burn it. Sorry, the highest it goes is 4, but my point stands. You know, here's a bunch of CR3s, and it's like there's so many that the party's only option is to do the turn undead, and then I don't know. It doesn't feel like a real challenge.
That would have been obnoxious, but I totally could have seen as like, I'm so sick of you using your channel divinity to heal the party that much. There's 500 zombies in the exact radius that your channel divinity works. What are you going to do?
I'm going to cast Toll the Dead. So 6th level, you get another subclass feature. This is changed up. I mean, I'll just say the timing overall of subclass features is changed, where it used to be 1st level, then what?
Second.
First, second,
second, 6th, 8th, and 17th.
There we go. Yeah, this kind of squishes it down a little bit. It's just like 3rd, 6th, 11th, and 14th or something.
10th and 14th. And I think that matches
10th,
the expertise subclasses as well, right?
Does
Correct.
not. Does? I thought it didn't.
Yes.
Okay. Cut me. Just
So
mute my mic.
Now I'm going to leave your air in. Live with the
So
embarrassment.
yeah, this is the theory that everybody and us, but mainly us because we're the smartest D&D podcast out there, obviously. I've been wondering is this power progression going to carry on through all classes? And I feel like this is telling us yes.
I like that. I don't like it for the idea of subclasses that can be slotted into different classes. That I still think is really awkward, and I don't know why I'm gonna go kicking and screaming on that one, even when they put it in, and I probably end up liking it. But yeah, I think it just simplifies things a lot. Just it's neater, regardless of power dynamics. It really just feels neater. and I can only imagine it's easier to balance.
Definitely easier for home brewers.
Yeah.
In terms of the design, I don't know. I guess I just don't feel strongly.
I
I
for
think
the bare minimum, I like that it's pulling subclass features out of the 17th level area and bringing it to
yes,
14th. Bare minimum, that's great. It feels
yeah, that's true.
so weird having it be that far down the line.
Hmm.
All right, then 7th level we have Blessed Strikes. So this is the one we were talking about where you can, when a creature takes damage from one of your 0 level spells or an attack with weapons, you can also deal 1d8 radiant damage to that creature once per turn. Well, I guess it specifically says you can't use this feature again until the start of your next turn. So there's no
Opportunity attack.
opportunity
Yeah.
attack chances for it, which I believe the old cleric could do. No, actually, it just, yeah, I guess they could, because potent spellcasting was just damage you deal with any cleric cantrip. Obviously, you need Warcaster to do that. And then let's see what the Tempest domain
Once
is.
on each of your turns, when you hit a creature with weapon attack, deal the 1d8 radiant damage.
Okay, so
Then
opportunity
it goes
attacks
up later on. Yeah.
would have worked. Yeah,
Yep. So just like getting rid of the rogue sneak attack off of the turn, it's just kind of cleaning up that wording, which I don't
yeah.
like that. Same
I don't.
with the exact same issue with the rogue. I mean, this is less of a big deal than a rogue sneak attack,
Yes,
but it's like I don't. If they manage to get an opportunity attack, let them do the extra damage. Or if another character has an ability that lets them attack with their reaction on their turn, like Battlemaster or something like that, let them just do their extra damage. It's neat. It's synergized as well. It makes people feel smart.
we can't have that.
No.
As a forever DM, I don't like that. I want my players to feel dumb and subjugated. No, I'm with you. Obviously, definitely for the rogue. For this one, it's less important, but it does push people towards feats like Warcaster, where you can cast a spell instead of just taking an opportunity attack. And I already feel like clerics have been separated very far from ever swinging their mace or whatever weapon they have, and this just pushes it even further, because now even on an opportunity attack, it's not good to make that melee attack. It's better to have something else. Obviously, you need a feat for that. We don't even know what that feat might look like in this game, so speculation, but still, I think that's my general thoughts around it. Speaking of feats, at 8th level, you get a feat, ASI, or a feat of your choice. Standard stuff there.
Mm-hmm.
9th level, you get your second Holy Order. So you get to choose from the existing 3.
Which is cool.
It's
But we already
okay.
talked about them.
It's okay. I would much rather it increase the power for each of these, or let you choose another one. So like a protector level 2, a scholar level 2, thaumaturge level 2, or you are also a protector, also a scholar. And that would be a little more interesting to me.
Okay, I could say that. That could be cool.
Because there's something that's just totally off in my eyes of being a thaumaturge at level 2, and then 7 levels later, it's like, oh, I guess I have martial weapons and heavy armor now. Does that change up your playstyle in any capacity at that point? Heavy armor, of course, increases your AC, but the rest of it?
No, yeah, it's unlikely you're gonna at that point pivot to like picking up a big maul and running in
Right.
to hit things with it. You're gonna probably
I don't
keep casting your spells.
I don't know if this has changed. I can't recall it changing, but it's also protector is oddly placed because it's dependent on your ability scores in a lot of ways. Like if you hit 9th level and you've been just like dex dumping with medium armor, it's just you really screwed yourself for 9 levels.
Yeah.
And if you don't, you still have to have like 15 strength to use plate armor. I don't know if that might have changed. I would not be surprised if that changed.
That may have. Let's hold on to that, because I think there might be something in the rules about armor training. And I don't remember it mentioning strength, so maybe they removed that requirement, but I'm not positive.
That was on the specific like equipment, like the armor table. There was like
Yeah,
a column for it that was just kind of odd. It always stood out, and it was kind of like a holdover from the olden days, I think.
yeah, definitely not talked about in proficiencies, armor training, or anything like that on the table. And I think even if you don't have it, if I remember correctly, it's just you have -10 speed.
Correct.
Yeah.
which isn't
There's also,
huge.
I think
That
there's
that sucks pretty bad.
Isn't there something about spell casting in armor that you're not proficient in?
And you're not proficient in, yes, but if you're proficient but
Oh,
and just don't meet the strength requirement, I think
yeah,
the only penalty in current 5th edition, the only penalty is minus to your speed.
that is correct.
Who knows in this? We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. Great. Then 10th level subclass feature, as mentioned. Then 11th is Divine Intervention. There's really no material change to Divine
Yeah,
Intervention.
it's just a level later,
Yeah.
which is kind of whatever. It's like, all right, 10th. If 10th are always going to be subclass, I get bumping up to 11th.
Yeah. I already don't love Divine Intervention just because I'm not going to spend an action for an 11% chance of anything. So it feels like it's something that should be used outside of combat most of the time, which is fine, but that's also not really how it's explained because most of it says like the effect of a divine spell. I don't know. I would rather see something else or just divine intervention reworked in some way, but that's besides the point. It might be more classic than I treat it. 12th level is a feat, 14th, your last subclass feature, 16th level feat, and then 18th is greater divine intervention, where you automatically succeed your divine intervention and you cannot use it again for another 2d4 days. Then the last levels close out like every other class here of 19th level is another feat, and 20th level you get your epic boon.
So yeah, overall, I think some good changes. Yeah, I would like to hopefully we still keep seeing some tweaking as you pointed out, like you made a really good point about the 9th level holy order just kind of feeling a little weird, and probably you just kind of picking like something where it's like, I guess that's fine, but
Yeah,
not really impacting you that much.
that's probably my big one. I think if that's the only thing that changed and they made that, another set of 3 options, then I would be pretty good with this. I think they're pretty good changes overall. And let's be honest, the cleric is one of the best classes in 5th edition right now. So it's not like it's been in a bad spot and it needed this huge rework. So this to me just seems like a lot of healthy tweaking. It's not anything that's like totally tanking it. It's not making it so much better. It's just changes, opening up options in a lot of ways, and allowing those different play styles that people were already trying to shoehorn, because that's just the direction that 5th edition has gone, is screw the mechanics. I want to play the character I want to play. And this says, okay, that's fine. Play the character you want to play. We're going to stop holding you back.
Right. And also the biggest thing about clerics is their spell casting and their great spell list. And this doesn't really touch that outside of how you prepare spells, but that's a minor adjustment, just kind of lose some, gain some type thing. And then cantrips.
But a couple of spells are touched, and we'll talk about that later.
Right.
All right, so let's talk about the
life domain.
Yeah,
so life domain, flavor about it is all the same.
It's good vibes, brah.
Yeah. You get domain spells, and which is same as all the other ones. I don't know if the spells are exactly the same.
They are changed. Nothing that's really major, in my opinion.
Right. Discipline of life is also the same. That's when you heal, you do additional healing equal to 2 plus the spell level. They also get that at 3rd level. Then in current 5th edition, at 2nd level, they would get the Preserve Life Channel Divinity. That's now bumped all the way out to 6th. This is the one where you could, as your use your Channel Divinity, heal up to 5 times your Cleric level to any creature within 30 feet of you. You divide up the total hit points, and you can't heal someone beyond their half their max HP. So a really, really great spell. It kind of sucks waiting all the way to 6th. Actually, it really sucks because getting that 2nd, like, it's so iconic for the life cleric and does such a good job of differentiating, like, this is a healer and you're amazing at it. And now all of a sudden you get the discipline of life, which is like, for a while it's going to be an extra 3 points of healing, which is pretty minor, and you have no other boosts.
It's true. I will say that with the base channel divinity in the cleric, you at least have some healing options, and that's not even better. It's not made better because you're a life domain. So it's not until you get preserved life that there's really any benefit. And man, I guess even then there's probably going to be some question as to whether or not preserved life is better than the, what is it, divine spark. Just because the divine spark does do a pretty good amount of healing. I guess on average, its proficiency bonus times a d8, so that's 4.5. So 9 versus, I'd have to do some actual math at some point here. I think Preserve Life does come out to be better, and obviously it can be divided amongst creatures as well. As long as Preserve Life stays mathematically stronger, then I'm okay with the sacrifice of it coming on at 6th level. But yeah, it does kind of hurt a little bit.
All right, then at 10th, they get Blessed Healer. This was what they previously got at 6th, where when you do a healing spell, you heal yourself. Works exactly the same. And now at 14th, they get Supreme Healing. Previously got it at 17th. That's when you were to roll any dice for hit points, you just get the maximum. So really nothing changed with the Life Cleric. It just changed when you get things. And then, as kind of previously talked about, they took out the Divine Strike, where you could add radiant damage to your melee attack and put in the base class. They used to get that at 8th.
Something to think about as well is they do take out the 1st level cleric spells as well, because usually when you picked a subclass, you
Right.
get them at 1st level. Yeah, so it is interesting. It's just you do lose some prepared spells because 1st level cleric, again, no, you used to get 2 prepared spells there. Now you don't get any. So a little less. Small tweak.
Yeah. So yeah, Life Domain is been really solid. Like, I have no complaints about it in 5th edition. We had like a 3-year campaign with a Life Cleric who was like the MVP of the party most of the time. And in the campaign I'm DMing, there's a Life Cleric who's also really just doing a great job and very beneficial to the party. But I don't think they needed a nerf in this kind of nerf zone.
It's
because it spreads it out so much.
Yeah, bringing the 17th level ability to the 14th level makes it like it's kind of a nerf, but it's also kind of not.
It's 14th is still really high.
Yeah,
I
but
would
nobody
like to
plays
see
17th.
something stronger at 3rd.
That's fair. Maybe this could be a hit points equal to your proficiency bonus plus the spells level. That's not really going to help at 3rd level. I'm not sure. I guess I'm with you. That would be nice to see something a little bit stronger at 3rd. Maybe a horizontal improvement as like something in addition to Disciple of Life. It's just hard when Disciple of Life does become so strong later on that I have a hard time saying that needs to be stronger.
Sure.
Yeah, next so we have the new character species. So this is just the change from the term race to species, and the ones that we have presented here are Ardlings, Dragonborns, and Goliaths. So Ardlings, I'm not familiar with lore-wise, but they were in the original character origins packet, and they have some pretty major changes. Basically, what we have now are different animals that you can, I don't know how to say imitate, that's the wrong word, but different animals that are considered your ancestor, and you are...
Well, you have them like the head of it.
Right. Okay, so yeah. It's definitely not imitating. That's the worst word I could use.
Yes.
You're straight up like the animal, bro.
Yes, you are a celestial
like
version of that animal. And the options are climbers, flyers, racers, and swimmers. I'm not even going to go into the mechanics of what each of them are. To be completely honest, it's pretty straightforward.
But it's cool. Like,
it is
like
cool
how they did that.
Yes, I am all right with this direction. I think this is we're kind of seeing where species are going to carve out their niche, because we are taking away the ability score increases, which I'm definitely a fan of. And I think that this is a cool way to give everybody the option from the player's handbook to play an animal-esque character that they want to play without needing to introduce 50 different races or species.
Yes. Oh, I didn't even.
We complained about this before. What was the rabbit people, and we were like, "Wow, okay."
And then owl people.
Yeah, and then the owl people were like, "This is the most phoned in shit we've ever seen."
Yeah. So I'm sure that we're still going to end up seeing those, and it's fine as long as they actually have some lore to them. That's what really bothered me. And the Ardling, I feel like it takes care of it. If you don't want to deal with the lore of it, if you don't want to tie yourself to the Tabaxi people and all of their history, you can just say, I'm a cat. I'm a celestial cat. Deal with it. And that's okay. That's totally fine. And you can have that be your history, obviously. I don't think that just because you're celestial, you have to not have any history. In fact, there's tons to have. The other aspect that you can get is divine magic, which you just know thaumaturgy, and whenever you finish a long rest, you can replace that spell with a different 0 level spell from the divine spell list. And your casting trait is either intelligence, wisdom, or charisma, and you choose that when you choose the species. And then you have keen senses, so you have proficiency in the perception skill, which to this point, I don't think we've seen any changes in the perception skill. That's something I'm keeping an eye on because I hate perception in 5th edition.
I know.
It's a very bad skill. It's so required. I hate it. I hate it, hate it, hate it.
You
But
want
that is...
to talk the virtues of Pathfinder 2e and how they do it then?
I mean, I can just say that quickly. It was definitely an eye-opening thing where Pathfinder 2nd edition, it's just a skill that everyone has. Everyone has perception, and you might be more proficient, you might be less proficient in it, but it's just across the board. You have a proficiency skill that you're proficient in, and that's fine. Like it's used also for like investigation and like 3 or 4 other things because it's just so important that you can't really be an adventurer without it. It feels weird to just be like, oh yeah, I'm just not very perceptive. Like, why are you on the road? Anyways, enough about that. I'm hoping to see more about it, but not gonna expect too much. We have the Dragonborns up next, and does not change the lore in any way that I could really tell. We still have the same setup where you can choose your draconic ancestor, and from that get a different damage type to your breath weapon. But overall, this does seem to be just pulling the gem dragon format for the species that Fizban's Dragonry. I don't remember what the heck the name was.
Isn't it Fizban's Treasury of Dragons?
Yeah, that sounds right. That book introduced
the gem, chromatic, or metallic.
Right. And each of those basically had the same setup where they'd get a breath attack and then a damage resistance to their ancestry type, and then dark vision, and then a couple of them got different abilities, but these ones all get draconic flight at 5th level. The flight is different and better. It's a bonus action to pull your wings out, and it lasts for 10 minutes, whereas I believe the other one was just 1 minute. So small change, but definitely nice.
Also, the breath weapons, compared to the player handbook, the breath weapons you could replace one of your attacks. It's not an entire action, and the damage scales pretty well. Though the player handbook might scale, I don't remember. But I do know it was your entire action, and that made it kind of suck.
Yeah, and you couldn't choose, I think, between like the 15-foot cone or the 30-foot line, and now you can. Right. So overall, this is good. Good switches.
Yep.
Then last species we have presented is the Goliath, which are giant descendants. And they get to choose from a type of giant at the early start of their character creation. They can be a cloud giant, fire giant, frost, hill, stone, or storm descendant. And each of them gets a specific trait that they can use up to their proficiency bonus per long rest. Like a cloud giant, bonus action to teleport. Fire giant, do some additional fire damage. Frost giant, additional cold damage and reduce speed. Hill giant is when you hit a larger or smaller creature with an attack roll and deal damage to it, you can knock the target prone. That one's actually really good.
Right, and there's no save.
Yeah. Ooh.
Yeah. It's only proficiency bonus per day, though. So it's not like crazy.
But if you're a barbarian, how many times do you need to?
Right.
Stone's endurance is roll a d12 as a reaction. When you take damage, add your constitution modifier number and reduce the damage. Storm, the last one, is when you take damage from a creature within 60 feet, you can use your reaction to deal 1d8 thunder damage to that creature.
Yeah, so I love all of these. I think they're really flavorful and all mechanically solid in their own different ways. And also, Goliath, I think, I know when I make characters, especially if I'm making a melee character, I always look at Goliath, thinking like, oh, that makes sense. So it's satisfying to play the big, hulking, strong character. But they were so dull and so uninteresting mechanically. They had like nothing to that other than like they count as like a large size category, larger for carrying stuff. And I was like, okay, they have giant ancestry and they get all these cool abilities, and I love to see it.
Yeah, and it's really interesting as well because with ability score increases taken away from species, we are now seeing different ways to push species towards a class build. Because
Hmm.
before it would have been expected that a giant or Goliath's going to have +2 to strength, +1 to constitution, and you're like, oh, okay, well that's great for my melee builds, for my barbarian builds, whatever. And this still has that. It's still great for a melee build, but if you don't want it to be, you're not too shoehorned. So it encourages in a good way, but it also doesn't pigeonhole you if that's not the direction you want to go. I mean, there's
Right.
if you're going for pure mechanical reasons, if you took Stone's Endurance as a wizard, I think you'd be pretty happy.
Yeah, or Cloud's Jaunt.
Right. Ooh,
It's
that'd be really
probably
nice.
worth noting that Stone's Endurance was just vanilla Goliath.
That's right. I thought it was familiar.
Oh, right. It was only like once per long rest, wasn't it?
Yeah, something like that.
It was really
not
limited.
great.
But I think in general, species just were, for the most part, less powerful. I don't even know how to refer to that in the past tense. Races were less powerful in 5th edition than I believe species are allowing themselves to be.
Mhm.
Species feel like they are giving you a entire feat, whereas races felt like it was the ability score increase and then maybe some flavor and then I don't know, just light sprinklings, except for
They were
a
all over the
couple.
place.
Yeah, I was saying,
some
except for
were
a couple
like
that were way too strong.
maddeningly strong, like Variant
Yeah.
Human. For
Yeah,
the
which did
feat.
give you a feat.
Yeah. Or like Half Elf. You got a bunch of extra skills, and
Hmm.
they increase. Yeah.
Could like choose. I think it was a +2 to one thing, and then to like charisma, and then +1 to 2 others or something. It's yeah. So this feels like it's much easier
Yeah.
to
That was it.
balance for them now because it is
I
just feat level
super
strength.
super disagree.
Okay.
I think this is going to be a fucking catastrophe because we're talking about like it's like variant humans like that was busted, and now they're like trying to basically match everything to variant human, and everything's going to be just like a total dice roll as to whether it's good or overpowered or totally worthless.
Well, that's
Even
where
this,
playtesting comes in.
okay, let's
And
be
I think
honest with ourselves. Do you think this is going to go through and just be this like flawless, like, wow, they balanced this with mathematical precision?
No, that's what
we could
Pathfinder's
dream.
for.
We can dream.
But
I think we'll see less of them with the Ardling. I didn't think about that till you pointed out, and it seemed odd. Like, why is the Ardling in here? Um, because it's not like a super common one that I was aware of. It's like, okay, yeah, that actually fills the role of a whole lot of them, and I think because of that, we will see a lot less species than we have seen races, which I think will hopefully make it easier to balance.
I'm going to bet against that. I'm just going to.
I said easier. I didn't say I think it'll make it balance. I think it will make it easier to balance. But you're right. They could fuck it up, and you never know.
And also, I think that the Ardling was like they literally just made it up.
I don't think
For the
that's
record.
true.
I think they did. I don't know.
They it listed as revised rules for the Ardling, which means it's coming from somewhere.
Okay, well, let us know in the comments if the Ardling is new or not, because as everyone is painfully aware of, we just don't really know much before 5th edition. Not
Oh, actually, I don't
concretely,
think
at
you're
least.
right. It's actually don't. And D&D Beyond searching the word Ardling within the race, it does not come up.
Yeah, I thought it was from like a previous edition.
Okay, never mind. I was
think
wrong.
it's
Yeah,
just
it's not in 5th edition at all. You were correct. Well, maybe previous ones. Yeah.
Champ is here.
We don't know what we're talking about, except for Will, who doesn't even know what the podcast is about until 5 minutes before it starts.
I definitely 100% stand by you though, Ellie, that this will make it easier to balance. Whether or not they do that correctly is up to Wizards of the Coast, but it's in the same way that having all of the subclasses at the same time makes it easier to balance between them. I think that having all of the species have the same format is going to make it easier too.
Mm-hmm. All right,
And
but
oh, go ahead.
I was going to say moving on, unless you had more on that.
Nope.
Real quick, but do we want to talk about the feats at all? It's like 3 feats. I don't think it's really
Eh.
like we
You
would
don't
have
want to
needed
talk
to
about
be.
the epic boon of true sight?
I want to at least mention the epic boon of fate. We can just skip over the other two.
Okay,
That's
all right,
it.
I could just keep that discussion in. So talk about the epic boon of fate.
Okay, great. Look, we've been doing this for so long. You're stuck. So epic boon of fate, only one on here that interests me because it feels like the first one I've looked at that's like, oh, that's a solid level 20 grab, because this is basically a bardic inspiration. You can add, within 60 feet of you, when another creature makes a d20 test, you can roll a d10 and apply the number rolled as a bonus or a penalty to the d20 roll. And you can use it again once you roll initiative, finish a short rest, or a long rest. To me, that's super nice because this can be used in combat, out of combat, and getting it back on initiative means that you're going to get a good amount of uses out of this. It's strong and it makes you feel like you are helping the party through fate. I guess the fate part is kind of whatever, but it is not flavored like inspiration, but it has the same mechanical
It
purpose
is.
as inspiration.
I do hate how it steps on the toes of inspiration.
At level 20,
Yeah,
because the bards is still going to be better because it's a d12 and they get to use it a lot less limitedly.
sure.
But yeah, the other two epic boons, whatever.
All right, now the super exciting stuff. The rule glossary change log.
Ooh, I've been waiting for this one for, when did this release? 4 days ago?
There are actually some cool ones in here.
Yeah.
How we
And you'll just have to go read it. No.
Thanks for listening.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So it's really nice that they include a change log and it allows us to kind of skim through this. The first change that is pretty meaningful is a change to the aid spell. And this makes it so that where before it was a spell that was 3 targets and you'd raise their max HP by 5 and could be upcast, now it's 6 creatures and each target gains 5 temp HP instead of raising their max HP. Definitely a nerf in my eyes, even though it's more creatures and that fits the party amounts better than 3 creatures did. Raising your max HP always felt, it's hard to do. There's really not many ways to do that. Whereas temp HP, I feel like there's always so many sources of it. Not that you always have it, but there's just a lot of times where it overlaps and becomes either useless or like somebody's like, well, I've already got 2 temp HP left. Don't give me any temp HP until that's done. Things like that.
Right. I really don't feel strongly about this one. I
Weird.
didn't like aid much anyways. It's a second level spell for kind of what felt like a minor thing, and now it's a second level spell for other minor thing.
We used it a lot, and it was actually pretty useful, especially being upcast.
Did we?
It's probably one of the most, when in last campaign, it was probably every other session aid was used.
I know it was used, and I'm not like trying to like insult the player who used it a bunch. I always question like, is this really worth your spell slots? Because she was constantly running out of spell slots. And it's like,
At third
maybe if you
level,
didn't use that aid.
It was giving basically 30 additional HP just right at the start of the day, and it also raised the amount that she could raise you with her channel divinity.
That's true.
So that kind of synergized well with the life cleric. Great. So then the next thing is on the attack action, we have a change where you can actually equip or unequip a weapon before each attack you make as part of this action, even if it's an attack with an unarmed strike. So that's a pretty big change.
Yes, I'm so happy to put that in there. It's kind of not like mechanically at the end of the day, it works out really similar, but it's so much more clean than like the dropping a weapon as like a free thing. And then you can pick it up as a free object interaction. This is just, there's like a 2-sentence rule on it. And it kind of clears all that up.
And throwing stuff. If you're throwing weapons as well, that's I think where it's biggest, because now a barbarian can throw 2 javelins in a turn instead of them needing to have one out and then they can throw it and then they can grab one and that they can throw, but the next turn they already use their equip and all that weirdness is gone.
I believe that Jeremy Crawford and co have come out and said basically they want to make. They were sick of dual wielding being complicated,
Yeah.
Yep.
and so now it's just like it's fine. It's fine. It's over. It's done. You can do whatever you want.
I was going to say, I
can
think this
make-
also fixes the dual wielding issue of you have to take a feat to be able to unsheath two weapons,
Yeah.
which
little
feels
silly.
really shitty.
I wonder.
I disagree because I hate dual wielding, but no, you're right. I disagree in theory, but in practice, no, you're totally right.
Why do you hate dual wielding?
Because it's cringe and stupid. It's you don't do that. Use one frigging sword. What do I do with my other hand? I don't know. Buy a shield. No,
Are you
I don't
talking
wanna do
historically?
that. I'm just talking in general. Like
You're
there is
historically, how we see dual wielding fighting does not happen often, but it did happen in the sense because the offhand weapon would be used as a shield that had more offensive capabilities. And no, that is not how it is portrayed in D&D. But we also didn't have magic, and people couldn't turn into bears. So
Well,
First off, yes, they could. They could turn into bears. We lost that power when we severed ourselves from the world roots.
it's
But we never used two daggers in combat. And we sure as shit didn't use rapiers. I'm getting out of hand.
when we severed from the world runs in the 70s when we took the lead out of the gasoline.
Exactly.
All right. Well, I'm actually on the fence about dual wielding, but we'll I'm sure talk more about that later. If not on this episode, then other ones. We might need a break from talking about dual wielding. Bring Will's blood pressure down. Next on the list is banishment. There has been a change to banishment, and it is the best. It is delicious. Now you get a save at the end of each round while you are banished, which means two things. One, it's going to stop ruining my fucking encounters. Number one. Number two, I can use it on shithead players and not feel like I'm just ruining their entire game. Boom. Banishment is great. Let's bring it on.
that was my exact thoughts. Like as the DM, it's something you really don't want to give your enemies that are fighting the party because no one wants to be banished for the entire combat.
Yeah. And you don't want your encounters banished either. You're like, oh,
Right.
this evil demon's risen up. And it's like, oh, well, I banished them. It's like, well, I didn't give them legendary resistances because if you didn't banish them, then this would have been ridiculous. So all legendary resistances become is just a banishment tax. It's like counterspelling counterspells so that somebody can just get their spell off. Just
Right.
stop it. Banishment's good again. Dazed is next on my list. This is just
Are we just not talking about Barkskin?
Barkskin
Well,
was a previous one. It was not a change
But
in
we
this
haven't.
UA.
Yeah, but we haven't.
If
covered
you
the
feel
world
strongly
glossary in
about
anyone. So I was going to
Barkskin,
say there was a couple I wanted to bring up as well that
Sure.
were not changed in this one, but new with the 1D&D. But sure, well, go off about Barkskin.
Yeah, Barkskin used to suck. Now it's all right.
cool. Next, Dazed. No. Barkskin, what is it? It's now it's a bonus action instead of a full action. It's concentration up to an hour, but it is at the start of each of the target's turn. The target gains a number of temp HP equal to your spellcasting ability modifier plus your proficiency bonus. So that's
Which is
actually a lot.
That's dope as hell.
Yeah.
If you can effectively tank in any way, shape, or form, this is just massively useful. And it's like the druid was often the one with the Barkskin.
Yeah.
And previously it was, concentration, 1 hour. Their
full
AC
action.
couldn't be below 16.
Yeah.
Who's that useful for?
Sucks.
No
I
one.
don't know.
Literally no one. Nobody has ever fucking needed that.
It's the fact that it was concentration that was just a slap in the face.
Yeah.
Because look at Mage Armor. Mage Armor is like you get it 15 for 15 AC all day. And the Druid's like, oh, can I have 15 AC? And they're like, no, you can have 16. Wow, that's great. Yeah, but it's concentration and only for 1 hour. For a 5% difference for something to hit me? No thanks.
No.
So I'm glad this was a total rework because this isn't just a change to Barkskin. It is a absolute cut up of Barkskin. This tree
Yeah.
has been chopped down.
It's a new spell with the same name.
But it is also even good because you can upcast it. That's the other thing. You can target additional creatures. So I don't think that at second level this feels worthwhile, but I could see at 4th level, this seems really nice. Getting 3 creatures, your temp HP of proficiency mod plus your spellcasting modifier. That's pretty high. Yes, so actually talking about Dazed. So this is a new condition, one that I'm a big fan of. It gives you limited activity, so you can move or take one action on your turn, not both. You also can't take a bonus action or a reaction. I really hate things like stunned. Everyone hates being stunned. As a DM, it's not fun to have your enemies stunned, and it's not fun to stun your PCs because they wait 15 minutes for their turn and then just skip. Or again, stunning can ruin encounters. Dazed feels much more like you are limiting somebody's ability. You're not just outright shutting them down.
Yeah, and this is doing pretty much exactly what you've been talking about. When you homebrew stuff, you really like to use the slowed spell.
Yeah.
For like homebrewed conditions into things, but you always kind of talk about it's like, all right, there's not a slowed condition, so you're always having to rewrite the entirety of the slowed spell of this effect. And
Well,
Dazed is part of the slowed spell, and if I remember, there's now a slowed condition, right? That covers the other half.
I believe so, yes.
Yeah. So hey, good job on finding that design flaw and preemptively coming up with the fix that they used.
Hey, look at me. For what it's worth, I didn't like retype it every time. I just copied and pasted the slow spell.
I know, but still, it still ended up making things like paragraph with text that didn't need to be.
Yes, yeah. Where I'd make an item and I'd be like, yeah, just like the slow spell. I'm like, oh, I should put this text to the slow spell. Oh God. Oh, great. So next we have grappled. So there were just some changes to wording from the previous ones.
But
I don't even
overall, it's
Yeah,
grapple's just better. I don't know exactly what UA the
I don't either,
grapple
and it doesn't
changed,
matter.
But we'll just
if we
So it's
try to
still
compare everything to previous UAs, we're going to go just mad in the next 2 years.
right. So comparing it to just current 5th edition grapple, it's just a lot better. Your speed 0, which is the same. You have disadvantage on attack rolls against any target other than the grappler, which is a big change. Before that didn't do anything. It was just really your speed is 0. Right? That was
Yeah.
like literally it, wasn't it?
Yep. Your speed is 0, and you have to take an action to try and escape.
Okay, and then movable. Oh, the movable was the same. They could drag you, and it basically takes extra movement. And the escape's different as well. It's now a dexterity or strength saving throw against the grappler's DC, which is set through similar rules to spell DCs. So you no longer have that opposed check, which I like, because that opposed check always felt really weird and messy.
It slowed things down.
Yeah,
And I hated the fact that it was either athletics or acrobatics, and this one's still dexterity or strength saving throw, but I don't know, the skill made it feel awkward.
It's also no longer an action.
Yes. At the end of each of your turns. Yeah, that's much better. Which makes sense, right? Because I feel like if somebody's grappling you, you're like, even if you're still attacking them, you're like actively getting out. I think the one thing I'd like to see is that it be either you can make an attack, not even like in addition, you can take an action to do it, so that if you really, really need to escape, you could basically get 2 tries per turn. Because it does feel like if you're dedicating your turn to try and get out of it, that would be a thing that is physically possible.
Yeah, and the opposing roles created some really weird situations that kind of like broke that Someone say it for me. You know what I'm trying to say. Verisimilitude. There it is.
Versailles-tude.
No, verisimilitude.
Nah,
I'm not even saying that right.
Never heard of that word.
We're not helping you. You're like, please, throw me a raft. And we're like, anchor.
Right. Verisimilitude. Yes.
Sure. I don't know.
I've never heard of it.
You guys know this word. Fuck off.
You know, Will's being a dick. I'm just an idiot.
You use it. I can find
Verisimilitude is how I pronounce it.
Okay. Anyways, where you have like in the last session I DM'd, I had a character who was grappled in the mouth of a dragon. Like literally like hold in the mouth of a dragon, and it's like, all right, I'm gonna break out. And they roll a 9. Total roll was a 9. But they still broke out because the dragon rolled a 1, and it was a young dragon and it didn't get over the 9. And like that's just seems so silly, where it's like can the bar really be that low to break out of like the grapple being held in a dragon's mouth, who is so much stronger than you and bigger? It just
Yeah,
always felt
how
weird, and it was like shitty in both directions.
do you know how the grapple DC is set? That might have been in a previous one.
So this is the other change related to grab. We're really jumping ahead. Unarmed strike here, which is not changed in this UA, but it's new overall for One D&D, which I really like what they did. So they just put in some kind of unarmed strike. It's a melee attack that involves using your body to damage, grapple, or shove. Um, your your bonus to hit is all the same. On hit, your unarmed strike causes one of the following benefits: damage, grapple, or shove. So this is kind of similar to saying you could replace your attack action with grappling or shoving. But grapple here is if you hit, the target is grappled, and the escape DC equals 8 plus your strength modifier plus your proficiency bonus.
Yeah, I'm a much bigger fan of that.
Yes. So you don't need do the opposing grapple to get in the grapple. Just if you hit, it grapples, and
I think I
it's a
ran into
big.
that.
All of this is a really big improvement to grapple, which I think is much needed, and I'm really happy to
Yes.
see it.
Yeah, it needed simplifying and it needs strengthening, and I think this did both.
Right.
And we're not even done yet because this is a tweak off of the character origins grappled condition. So I'm sure they'll keep doing that, just like they have with guidance. Guidance is changed once again. Casting time from the previous UA is the same. It's a reaction, which now it's actually they might have shortened the distance, but I'm not going to confirm that. But it is a ally within 10 feet of you failing an ability check. You get a reaction, and you can add a d4 to their roll, potentially turning it into a success. Where this has changed is they before were saying that it was a once per success per day. So once it was changed into a success, you couldn't do that on the same person again. They just removed that because people didn't like it. It was messy. It was hard to track. So
Yeah, I don't like this change though. From fifth edition,
sure.
because guidance spam was already a problem of people just constantly doing it.
Sure.
But it was touch, and you had to like it only lasted a minute, and so there's chances of that not happening. Now it's just a reaction within 10 feet,
It is
and
still
you could just spam it on literally every ability check.
yeah, and to me it is literally the worst thing that has happened to social encounters ever in 5th edition. It is
I think
so
this
awkward.
fixes it.
How?
I think this fixes it because the operating principle was always like, no, you can't guidance somebody during a conversation.
Sure.
It's weird. Now that it's a reaction, there's no like loophole.
Yeah, I guess, but
You
it's
can't
still
be like,
really
oh,
weird.
come here, buddy, and then like hide behind a pillar and it's like, guidance. It's like, hey, you should sell us those plums for less money. Now it's just like you can't do that. You're 10 feet away. It has to be a reaction.
You're right, but it still is casting a spell right in front of somebody, and that always just feels really odd to me.
And I say that we like agree that doesn't work. It's like, hey, you just made that person off-putting. It's like that persuasion DC went from a 15 to a 30 because you're casting a spell.
And I wish that was codified more. And it's not, because they specifically do talk about basically the action of influencing somebody later on. I think it's the influence action. And
Yeah,
that to me would make me not care about this for social encounters. But Ellie, I agree with you. This does... I agree and I disagree. I agree that it makes guidance even more spammable, but also it was already being abused, and this makes it play out better in game. I don't know if I love that. It's like it makes the abuse less annoying. So
yes, that's true. I'd rather
so that
just
is
make
a
it a
positive.
non-abusable spell.
Then I think it would just need to get removed. I just genuinely don't
I
see a way
wouldn't
that
hate
you
that.
can have guidance.
I don't find it an interesting spell.
I'm
Or
with you.
bumped up to a first level spell, but obviously just made a lot stronger.
I'm with you.
Like for
And
the next hour, you have a D4 edit any ability check or something.
yeah,
Don't make a concentration because that would suck. But
I'm right there with you. Just get rid of it.
Yeah.
Or raise it. But I think we've had that conversation before.
yeah,
Anyways, next one that I wanted to bring up was actually the influence action. So the only thing was that this is just a new action that can be taken in combat, obviously, if it's made as an action, but it's taking the social rules that were already in 5th edition that nobody read and it's putting it into just a entire action so that people can more readily point to it to say these are things you can do in combat if you want to try and influence somebody. It's still going to be hard to do if somebody is a hostile creature, even saying that it might just fail outright, and that's probably something that the DM should be telling them beforehand. But the overall idea is pretty sound. You can attempt an influence action, and upon doing so, you can try to get a creature to do one thing, one request or demand, which is pretty generic there. And it doesn't have to be persuasion. It could be intimidation. It could be any other skill that I guess makes sense. But they have to, it says a successful charisma check is usually necessary is kind of the wink, wink, nudge, nudge. So
Right.
I don't have any more to get into with that. Just it's nice to see that codified and put into as an actual action. Other one I had, light weapon. There's no changes beyond wording, so it's in the change log, but ignore it. Prayer of healing, though, big change to that. And Prayer of Healing is the spell that everybody forgets is a 10-minute casting time spell. It is supposed to be done, obviously, out of combat due to the length, but it's each creature who remains within the spell's entire casting gains the benefits of a short rest and also regains 2d8 HP, and the creature can't be affected by this again until they take a long rest, and it can be upcast as well. So this used to just be healing, but now it gives a short rest on a shortened timeline, and I just feel like that's really interesting. This is the first time we've ever seen an implementation like this.
For the most part, there was the Genie Warlock gets an option of doing that. People like Battled Respite or something. I don't remember the exact name, but like later on, they could do short rest in a short amount of time, I think. Or there's another spell as well, but it's like really, really high level.
Really? That gives quicker short rests? That doesn't sound familiar.
I thought there was. It was like one of the like mansion summoning spells. You know, there's like a couple of those. Maybe not. I might just be thinking of the Genie's thing. Or I'm making it all up. I don't know.
The Genie's thing is true, though. That's at 10th level.
Yeah.
It's if you are in the vessel for 10 minutes, you get the benefit of a short rest.
That's probably what I'm thinking of. But I love this change. That's really cool. Very interesting. It makes the spell really powerful.
It'll have some interesting overlap with a warlock in the party as well.
Yeah, assuming their spell slots work the same.
Oh no, don't say that. They're going to. They're going to. Next is the resistance spell. So this is another level 0 spell. Casting time is reaction, which you take in response to you or an ally within 10 feet of you failing a saving throw. And it's basically guidance for saving throws. And that's the long and short of it. When they fail a saving throw, you can have them add a d4 and potentially turn that into a success, but you have to be within 10 feet, and it takes up your reaction.
So this one bothers me less because I think it's less spammable, because typically saving throws are happening in combat, which then uses your reaction, which is a resource and is not as spammable.
Yeah, is also usually happening to multiple people. Not usually, but a lot of times it happens to multiple people. So it's not like you can give resistance to everyone.
Right.
Otherwise, I think the only change is that it's not concentration anymore, which is great because that was a concentration cantrip before, and there's no way I'd break concentration to add a d4. That was silly. And also it's 10-foot range instead of touch. So, and it was an action. Yeah, so overall, just much, much better. Wow, that was a horrible spell before.
Yes, it was horrific.
Yeah.
I feel like this is really, really, really useful, I feel.
Yeah, I would actually say I could see people taking this over guidance.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't see a situation where it like doesn't come up.
No.
Like
if you're not within 10 feet. But even then,
every time you fail a save,
it's strong.
But it's still a D4, so it's like And I actually do like that mechanic of adding a D4. It's like, I'm this close, I need a 3 on this scary triangular die. Don't fucking explode. That's actually probably my favorite part of the game. So
I'm 100% with you. That's why I like those moments. I think we had one recently with the Bane, where something hit or whatever, and it was like, or they succeeded on a saving throw, but they just succeeded by like 2. So it's like if they roll a 3 or a 2, whatever, then there you go, it's taken away, and it's good. It's hype. The slowed condition is on here, and we didn't talk about that before, so I'll just kind of briefly go over this. As Ellie, you mentioned, it's basically the other side of the slowed spell. Limited movement, so you must spend 1 extra foot of movement for every foot you move using your speed. Attack rolls against you have advantage, and then you have disadvantage on dexterity saving throws. So just a
Just a
good
much
new
needed
condition.
Yep.
Yeah. But then we get to the biggest change in this entire UA. Spiritual weapon is now concentration.
get wrecked, clerics.
Fuck.
Every
I was like
single
reading
cleric,
it and like saying like, oh, this all sounds exactly the same. What am I missing? It must be just some weird little role clarification and wording. I missed this now concentration.
nope. All
Oh man,
clerics
that is
are
really big.
It's over.
oh, it's over. It's huge. I mean, it's absolutely huge that spiritual weapon is now concentration. It can be upcast to 3rd level instead of needing to be going straight to 4th level. I guess that's a change. But spiritual weapon to me felt like the spell that every cleric needed to have and should have out basically every single combat.
Right.
And now it's
Yeah,
not
it
even
was-
worth picking.
You think?
When it's concentration, there's
I
other
think it's
stuff to
worth
concentrate
having
on.
because there's situations where the extra damage is really nice. I think it's worth having, but it's definitely
Sure.
not like the default. Of course, I'm going to cast spiritual weapon.
Right.
You know, it's because a lot more situational.
Yeah, well, we'll see. I think this is one that is definitely going to need some playtesting. Whether or not I do that, probably not. Playtesting's boring. When we're supposed to set up an entire one-shot just so we can try like 3 rules. Seriously? We can just talk about the rules and give our feelings on it without ever actually trying it. Why did our viewing time just drop off, Ellie? What happened? No, once we do get like enough of these rules and it feels like it's kind of stabilized a little bit on some of them, I would like to run some of this. But spiritual
For sure.
weapon, I'm not doing an entire one shot to test this. It's a big change though.
It is.
Probably a healthy nerf to clerics is my gut feeling.
Yeah, I was going to say we were just kind of gushing over how incredibly strong clerics are. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, because it's an extra 1d8 plus your spellcasting mod every single turn because they had
Yeah,
really
just
no
as a
over their
bonus
use for their
action.
bonus action.
Right. Yeah, so they would get that up, and then the before I started saying
Spirit
that sentence,
Guardians?
yes, Spirit Guardians, which is like cool, that kind of aura damage spell.
Yeah,
And
there's
they could
always
just kinda-
there's like 2 that I always mix up, like Spirit Guardians versus
Guardian spirit.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and Virtuous Spirit Guard is what I'm thinking of. Where that
They-
aura, all creatures,
yes,
any
yep.
creature of your choice, which makes it really good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes like 3d8 damage or something, slowed. Then spiritual weapon as a bonus action, so an extra 1d8 plus your spellcast ability modifier or something, and then you could still cast another spell.
Yeah.
You
There
can
was
still like
one
cast a
other- I'm trying
cantrip,
to
like Toll the
remember.
Dead, or
Yeah, there was one other I remember that was like I wish I was remembering the name of it, but it's another like Guardian-esque one.
Guardian of Faith.
Guardian of Faith, that's it.
oh,
That's
like the
also
big,
not
like the large
concentration.
creature that hovers in a space and
Yeah,
does like
so that-
20 damage to something.
was
That's
the-
not
Not concentration.
concentration.
So
Oh
that
my
was always
God.
my my dream setup, right? If you can get all 3 of those out, you've locked down a space.
Yeah. You're
So
just
to
wrecking
go-
things, yeah.
Yeah, to go back to what Jeremy Crawford and co have said, the idea of taking away options that aren't really options because they're so good. They killed sharpshooter and great weapon, whatever.
Yeah,
It's just like it feels bad, but the band-aid has to come off.
it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's fair. And you're still going to see people upset about it because it's like my complaint with Fireball is everybody says, well, it's so integral to D&D. It's Fireball, you know? Like you're like, oh, well, Fireball's too strong. And they go, yeah, that's the point. it's Fireball. It's like, well, can we just have less of those? Because every time we introduce one of those, it's called power creep. And then everyone goes, why is this game so unbalanced? Why is this so much stronger than this? It's because we allow stuff like that instead of just, as Will said, ripping off the Band-Aid and saying, no, it's balanced now. Oh, but I liked that. Yeah, everybody liked it. It was too good. We messed up. Now it's balanced. The only thing left in the changelog was True Sight. There's nothing different about it, but I do think there was some important wording at the bottom that was from the last UA, and it says that if you use the code MM10 on fanroll.com, you can save 10% off your order and support the show. And I think that if we overlook that, then True Sight just becomes absolutely meaningless.
Yeah. It was really cool of them though to put that in the UA and agree to publish it in the final box.
It was really important because Metallic Dice Games recently changed their name to Fanroll, and they have all of the same great content with just a new name. And right now they're still running some sales. And if you use the code MM10, you can add that on top of the sales. And we are going to get double commission for the next 2 months. So you really, really support the show. I actually just bought myself some dice from there. They're called the 7 Chakra Layer set. And it was really weird how Jeremy Crawford put all of these into all this in the UA. It's all in there. You have to open it up to believe it, but it's all there. That's the best one in a while.
UA jokes aside, it is all that. The rest of that's true. Go buy some cool stuff in Fanroll.
Yes, and if you have enjoyed the episode, make sure you like, subscribe, leave a comment. Please leave a comment on your thoughts. I mean, that's honestly the most fun of releasing these videos, is hearing other people's back and forth around this, seeing things that maybe we didn't think about, other interactions, whatever. I'm sure things will come up. And thank you, as always, to our patrons: Ed G, Muddawait, Brian H, Greg A, Isaac M, Luca L, Jeff W, Star Shinobi, Vincent M, Bob F, Joe P, Rick D, Sentinel 20, Tyler S, Gray, Barons, Adam A, Rob K, and Gray. If you would like to support the show by becoming a patron, you can go to monstersmulticlass.com/support, where you can find the Patreon, where we do early releases of episodes, like most of the time, I swear, as well as give show notes, campaign updates, things like that. And you can also find our other affiliates besides Fanroll, but we really love them because I am a total dice hoarder. I don't know why I just bought more. It's like a $70 set, but I just couldn't turn it down. It was so pretty. Will does not get it. Will's got like the most basic dice you've ever seen, and I'm like, oh,
I bought a pound of dice in like 2013.
I did too, and they're now sitting in like a little chest I have that's just like, oh, if anybody doesn't have dice, I just throw those at them.
Right.
But anyways, that's all I got.
All right. Yeah. As always, thank you for watching.